I haven't talked about wrestling since April 27th. What's happened since April 27th? Well, they had Backlash, and they had that weird Bobby Lashley interview. So, me with WWE, it's always been an on-off thing. And I'm always going to have people asking me, oh, what do you think of? What do you think of? Here's the truth. The April 27th event in Saudi Arabia made me say, all right, I'm just going to tune out for a while. I don't know that I'm going to watch it again until around SummerSlam. And my issues are plentiful, and I'm going to put it this way, okay? So you have Asuka, who's on this tremendous winning streak, and they've done with it what they did with the Tatanka winning streak. Nope, I know, older reference for sure, and for kids, I'm going to do it this way. Tatanka was on a huge winning streak for, I want to say, over a year. So over a year in WWE, he didn't have a loss. And he had this native warrior character, and he was honestly really over with the crowd. The crowd loved him. He lost, and I can't remember if it was against Hercules or Kurt Hennig or who it was against. I know it was in this weird... it could have been Razor Ramon even. I'm trying to think, but at some point they killed it. And Tatanka never got back. Now Asuka, I thought, well, they're not going to do that because she's very marketable. She's very pretty. She's got these amazing robes that she wears. She's got these masks she wears that kids will love that. And there's all kinds of t-shirt opportunities. There's all kinds of things you can do with the Asuka character. So they had her lose to Charlotte. Not overly shocking. I was surprised, but it's okay. If you're going to lose that belt, or if it's going to help create some kind of a feud somewhere, no. Charlotte beat her, and then that's just kind of it. And now Charlotte, coming back to Backlash here, she loses clean to Carmella. Now, Carmella is entertaining. I don't think she's as bad as some of the NXT crowd seemed to think she was when she first came in. She had nuclear heat when she first came in. She came in, they put her together with Cass and Enzo, and Cass and Enzo were hot at the time, and Carmella, they didn't like her. The crowd couldn't stand her, and it took a long time for her to win the crowd over. And she's never been a very strong wrestler, and I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact she's very tiny. Carmella is a very small woman, and having seen her wrestle live twice, she is smaller than almost every other girl on the roster. Even if she might be taller than a couple, she's physically very tiny. So she's not going to be able to do the moveset that a Charlotte will. Or Asuka. Asuka is jacked. Asuka's in pretty damn good shape, and she is capable of doing things in that ring that most can't. Now, the funny thing is, if you compare, on one brand, you've got Nia Jax as champ, and on the other, you've got Carmella. They really couldn't have gone in more opposite routes. And Nia's character is the face that you can feel bad for because, you know, Alexa picked on her for being bigger. And they really do their best to make Nia Jax look far heavier than she is. She's, by an average woman's standard, she's not that big. And again, because it's wrestling and because people run around half naked all the time, it definitely makes it look way worse than what it is. Just watch a Total Divas episode with her in it, and you'll see what I mean. When she's wearing her regular everyday clothes and she's just being herself, she's a nice looking woman. And she's not in bad shape at all. She's pretty solid. It's just they put her in unflattering outfits for the most part. And I don't know very many people who would look flattering running around in a onesie like that. I couldn't pull that off at all. I don't have the cleavage for that either. And Carmella's this tiny little waif. She is really small. And it's very easy to hate her. But here's the problem. I'm okay with Charlotte losing to Carmella, but there was no interference. It was clean. And for people not up on all the wrestling speak, losing clean is considered completely different than losing via outside interference or a count out or a disqualification. Like if Charlotte got mad at Carmella, Carmella brings in a chair and hits her with it, and then Charlotte hits her back. The referee only sees the answer from Charlotte and says the winner by disqualification is Carmella. Fans aren't complaining. But when it's clean, and whether it's, oh, it was a roll-up, or it was a schoolboy, or whatever you want to call it, it's a clean 3 count. It's a fine line. And what it's done is Carmella now, by extension, is better than Asuka. Carmella is now a better wrestler than Asuka. They built Asuka up for 2 years to have her lose to Charlotte, and the reward for Charlotte was losing to Carmella, who beat Charlotte clean, and now Carmella's way better than Asuka. But because it's women, they don't care how they book it. And it is part of the reason why Tatanka faded after that. He ended up as a heel. And that didn't work for him, and then he switched back. But at this point, it didn't matter. I think he joined Bobby the Brain Heenan. I know he was with Ted DiBiase at one point. Anyways, and that's the thing, is where Asuka goes from here, I don't know. I really don't know. I know at house shows she's tagging with Becky and Naomi, and they're having fun. And Asuka may very well be happy the streak's over, so that she can just go out there and wrestle and just be one of the girls. But what was the point of the winning streak if all they're going to do is have her lose to Charlotte, who then immediately loses to Carmella? Because coming out of Mania, we were hearing that Ronda Rousey's going to fight Charlotte, and that's going to be a big thing, and they're going to build Charlotte up. Right now, it looks like they're building up Ronda Rousey versus Carmella. Ronda Rousey clearly is not going to be the heel, so her versus Nia Jax isn't what they got planned. That would make more sense to me. If I was going to believe in anybody on that roster learning MMA and at least to a level where they could legit do a shoot fight in the ring with Ronda, Nia's the one that might make me a little nervous if I was Ronda. But anyways. And last but not least, the Lashley interview. So they interview Bobby Lashley. You know, all I've heard about from now on Aftermath, they talked about it. They talked about it on Wrestle Talk. And it's been talked about on Lords of Pain, on their forums. All Lashley did was talk about his sisters and growing up with 3 sisters. Bobby Lashley, during his first run in WWE, what people forget. Clearly there's a young crowd that doesn't know this. Bobby Lashley had the look. He had the power. He had everything going for him. And then he spoke. And we collectively went, oh. He's not a powerful speaker. He doesn't strike fear into your heart. Big guy. If there's anybody who needs Paul Heyman, it's Lashley. Lashley should look menacing and tough. And what that interview did, and I've seen snippets of that interview, it just makes him seem less. As a wrestler, as a man, it has no effect whatsoever. This has nothing to do with him as a man whatsoever. But as a wrestler, I don't know. I don't know where you go from that interview, which was awkward. Renee Young's been stuck with some really awkward interviews. I don't know why they don't give the awkward interviews to Corey Graves. Corey Graves should be the one doing the awkward interviews, because Corey Graves can dig his way out. You look at the Corey Graves interview he did with Enzo, and you could tell he really didn't like Enzo, but he played off of that, and it still made for a decent interview. He should be the one interviewing Bobby Lashley. What I remember as being the highlight of Lashley's career was the disastrous angle where Trump and Vince McMahon were against each other, and Trump's champion was Bobby Lashley. Like, anybody bought that at the time. And then that's where Vince got his head shaved. Like, anybody thought for a minute Donald Trump was going to get his head shaved in a WWE ring. And it was so stupid. And I don't know where you go with Lashley from here. I also don't know. Part of the reason I just said I'm just not going to watch for a while is I don't know where you go with Brock. Apparently Brock's not wrestling again till SummerSlam, so the title's on ice until August. He's only defended it 10 times in 400 plus days. 10 times. That's ridiculous. I don't know who you build up to face Brock. You've now got Roman. The fans hate him. Good job. Fantastic. Um, Everybody boos when they see him on the screen. You've got Braun Strowman built up that Braun Strowman would be a realistic contender, but he's already lost twice that I can remember to Brock Lesnar. And they don't build anybody up to be a threat. They really don't. You look at Roman and you can say, well, Roman did take him through the side of a cage, but that's Roman. Build somebody else up. And if the idea is going to be that it's going to be Lashley, and if this interview they did on Monday was to somehow make us feel like Lashley could be the guy, that interview didn't do it. That interview didn't do it. As they said on Aftermath, unless it was meant to hype up his sisters coming into WWE, there really wasn't a point of that interview. But there you go. So there's my opinion on what's gone on with WWE since the Saudi Arabian show, which there's still a lot of talk about. And I agree with some of the comments made by Corey Graves about wrestling over there. 100% agree. It was a cash grab. That greatest Royal Rumble ever, that was a cash grab. That's what it was. That's it. And it kind of made Backlash even worse than it would have been otherwise. And Backlash showed me that the dual branded pay-per-views, horrible idea. You've got AJ versus Shinsuke, and it's before Roman versus Samoa Joe. And all that does is just have Roman get beat up for 15 minutes and then spear Samoa Joe and win. Come on, guys. Get it together. You can't take the world title and make it less important than a match that doesn't involve the belt. The WWE has done this time and time and time. They did it to Bret Hart. They did it to CM Punk. And now they're doing it to AJ Styles. When they get a guy who can really work, a guy the fans really like, it's almost as if they rail against it. And I don't understand it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.